likely she was anything but paste on the ground, picked over by wild animals and bugs until only scraps of clothing remained. Was that how he wanted to find her? Would he be able to find her? He couldn't answer those questions, even though his logical side very much wanted him to. For some reason, which really wasn't reasonable at all, he felt like somehow she would be alive. That she had to be alive. The world couldn't exist without a Seren in it. It was impossible. And yet, he always did his best to push those dark thoughts away, which was easy to do considering how hazy his head felt most of the time. Because of course, it couldn't just be him hunting for his best friend. No, that would be far too easy. Instead of a simple search and rescue, Kashir found himself having to dodge Rasheen, who seemed enraged that he dared to leave her. She was persistent, too. 2 days and she was still calling out for him, still swooping this way and that. She only landed occasionally, and Kashir guessed it was to rest, since the 3 times she'd done that had been when he was far away and hidden in the crotch of a tree with thick leaf cover. Her cries reverberated through said trees, bellowing and beseeching Kashir to come out of hiding, a forlorn and almost pained tone to them. It was as if with every yowl, the beast was trying to coax him into giving up his mad pursuit. But Kashir knew he couldn't trust her, not after the way Rasheen had flown away with him against his will from his room, and especially not after the cold way she had just abandoned their friend. It was just so cruel. She hadn't even tried. Maybe, just maybe, she could have swooped down. She could have at least done something. And yeah, maybe it would have possibly ended their 3 lives, but at least they would have died with honor. And perhaps what bothered him the most was she didn't even look. She had to have felt Seren slipping, had to have known, and yet Rasheen abandoned her without a moment's hesitation. Suddenly, all of Kashir's musing about the emotional intelligence of the dragon seemed moronic, and he couldn't help but wonder if the creature was really capable of feelings at all. Maybe that was just his own pain doing the talking and not facts, but he didn't have the time to suss out the difference and wouldn't until Seren was safely with him again. Either way, it wasn't like it mattered at the moment. He knew that if Rasheen found him, it would be more likely than not that she would bring him back to the castle against his will. And even if it was for his own protection, he couldn't leave Seren out there, thrown to the Yorick dogs like a scrap of meat from a table. There was no telling what horrific things they might do to her or her remains, especially if any of them had an inkling of who she was. He hoped they didn't. He hoped they thought she was just a random girl who had no business flying atop a dragon and left her or her body alone. Because if they knew, well, the implications were pretty terrible. After all, she'd been riding aboard the dragon Kashir had stolen from the Yorick, and he was the very prince who had also helped lay waste to not 1, but 2 groups of Tjorsten's men. This undoubtedly had the tyrant king writhing in anger atop his throne. Men who weren't never bent on revenge and conquest didn't queue up a massive armada just for fun. Kashir had made a fool of Tjorsten through and through, though the Yorick scum most likely wouldn't see it that way. It wasn't like the tyrant was known for his generosity and insight. Not only that, Kashir had something he wanted, Rasheen. The first prince was acutely aware just how much his dragon friend was a pillar of power that carried vast warfare potential. And clearly, so was the Yorick king. With the attack looming on the horizon and all of that new technology in tow, it was obvious Tjorsten would stop at nothing to get what he desired, even if it meant shedding blood and lives in the process, be it his own men or the soldiers of the Sun Kingdom. So if he was willing to do all that, what he might be willing to do to the captured best friend of his enemies, well, it made Kashir shudder. It made him sick. But most of all, it made him very, very fast.